You say you need to have these water use agreements back by this date.
They have not said that, but there's no, they've said every meeting, every time, there's a date certain, but we just don't know what that is. And now that we've heard from everybody that signed off on the agreement and the engineer, we know that we can go.
Beth?
Yes.
I have a question. So,
We did it on Thursday.
if you say you want the water hookup,
Uh-huh.
so you're saying we cannot have a water hookup unless we opt into a 35-year contract, and
That's on the inside.
that's
It's all in the water use agreement.
that was set up by the Davies too.
Right. Right.
Beth, could we do it on October 2nd? Because I could do it on October 2nd.
Yeah,
October 2nd is a Thursday.
Sure, that's fine.
Is that
Thursday, October 2nd.
Is there a hookup fee? I forgot.
No, not if you're in the construction
If we're already
phase.
there.
Right, yeah, right, you've got one now. Or even if you don't have a hookup now and you want one, and get in, and you get in before the deadline, the cutoff time, then there's also no connection fee or for the meter. However, everybody's responsible, and this is not just new with us, it's just the way it works. Everything from the meter to your house is the property owner's responsibility. They will put the new meters as close as they can to the current meter if you have a current meter, and then when it's operational, they'll make the connection from the current meter to the new meter, your water line
So
connection.
basically, if you want new water lines into your house,
Otherwise, it's just,
It's your,
Right, it's yours. And I mean, some people I know, I think Lori Ann has mentioned that, what if the pressure's too high and now I've got these brittle lines and then it's gonna break and then I've got a mess and so forth. And a response to that, which may not be the right one, is that everyone who's in the construction project will get in their meter on the house side of the pit regulator that you can adjust and set what you want the water pressure to be.
you
But
might want to adjust it before you do it.
that's what I.
right. And so you may want to, I think I'm going to go ahead and ask him, hire
Jim says
somebody
that
to
won't make any
trench.
difference.
But it won't make no
Jim
difference.
says that'll make no difference.
The water, because if they put new water lines in up to the old meter or new meter, then you're gonna have the old meter water lines going into your house, and they're not gonna last, I'll tell you.
So,
Oh,
So
So,
I- so
if
if
you
you
don't
care-
opt in at the beginning and you later on decide to and you pay the $1,500 for the meter and whatnot, do you still have to sign that contract?
yes, and pay the surcharge, yeah. And I would just say, and I'm going to say at the meeting, and I'm bringing the sheet, it says what the costs are now. But that's not to say they're not going to go up. I mean, just because they're $1,500 on whatever our cutoff date is, means that on the next day they're going to be $1,500. The board makes those decisions all the time on what the costs are going to be. It has been $1,500, I think, for 4 years, so I don't know how long. But now they're putting in all new electronic meters that are read by people driving by in cars.
The
so I
ones that
know
give
the
you
costs are
cancer?
going up.
Yeah. So if we opt out, then we're gonna get charged with the $500 fee for not complying with the ordinance requiring us to hook up to the city utilities.
that's not a city utility.
It's not a city utility any longer.
it's not city.
Private part.
Y'all have to change.
It's a Davies 2 water.
So then that ordinance is no longer in effect.
The
portion
portion
of it.
The server's still in effect.
Yeah,
If we, it wouldn't affect the circumstance you described
on the sewer, it wouldn't affect.
on the water.
So somebody who has a well, they're not gonna get hit on that $500 fine for not being hooked up to the city water.
Yes.
Is there some place, I haven't seen a list of anything where we can see what the options are? What I guess that's what you're saying is the contract is now available for us to review that we're going to be signing, and it's a 35-year contract. But I was told I don't know what Hickenback said, but if you pull the meter, you don't pay anything, and then if you put the meter back in, you pay. If it's been out 5 years, you pay 5 years. But where is all of this listed where you know what
Well,
the
those
rules
are
are?
in the Davies 2 rules and regs, and I will have those. I don't have those with me now. I don't have anything with me now. I didn't have those, but I will distribute those along with the other, what their practice is and what their policies are.
So they
I mean,
get
and
to tell
you've
us
got to
that
understand that just like anything, practices and policies, not practices, change all the time. I've been to 2 years of board meetings. I've got better attendance than anybody there who's on the board or employee. But things change, something comes up and now we've got to change this and for one reason or another. So all I can do is give you the information that they currently give to me, and I'm just the Pony Express,
Did I hear somebody say that you had your attorneys check on the legality of signing, of being in a contract like that, or is that not?
Well, both the Jameson's lawyer who advised us on this, and it's a requirement to get the funding, the $157,000 loan that completes the payment for the system. That's a requirement. It has to be a surcharge, and if it gets paid off sooner, then it doesn't have to be 35 years. But that's the minimum $10 a month.
Have we found out if the surcharge is increased because of the people being annexed out of town?
Well, they're still going to be on the water system.
If they sign up for the water,
But those people can't be subject to a Jameson's contract.
If they hook
Too.
If it hooks up, if anyone now or in the future, 20 years from now, hooks up to the lines that were built with this funding, it's the same deal. It's a surcharge, at least $10 a month, unless we get behind the 8160 and all that.
So the public meeting that we had discussing this system, that was more for the entire area and not so much for Jameson?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
Well, there was a meeting.
Coming up, you mean?
No, there was a water
Yeah,
meeting
yeah,
that
yeah.
Lance was here and Lance Raines and was discussing the proposal.
Okay.
Was that what was that meeting for?
That was, so I can correct me, that was for the funding that we got from the state of Missouri, the $310,000 for this project.
And that affected not just the people in Jameson, but people outside of Jameson.
Anyone that hooks up to the lines that are built with that $310,000.
Wait a minute.
It won't be Jameson. Jameson's giving over all of our stuff to this other Jameson water.
It affects anybody.
Okay.
Public water
So I-
district number 2.
Okay, so I'm sure you understood your question better than I did. The money is for Jameson, but Jameson is going to use that money for that project. The people outside of the town will also be hooking onto, because additional money that's not designated specifically for the city limits of Jameson is coming.
So
Wait a minute.
that public.
No, that, it applies to anybody who's currently on our system, in or outside of the boundaries, but not somebody like the wards. Beverly and Bill Joe.
Right, when you said Jameson, he's talking city limits. I thought you said he was right about the city limits.
Well,
So that's what, so maybe you guys are talking all this. So I'm not trying to be evasive.
Was that public meeting specifically for Jameson or for people outside of
You mean
Jameson?
who to come to the meeting?
The public meeting that was held with Lance Raines.
it was for Jameson.
It was for
the
Jameson.
CBDG funding for the water project.
It was
which
for
is the grant
everybody
money.
who's
For the
connected
city
to
limits
the
of
system.
Anybody who is currently on the Jameson water system,
Okay.
which is the bulk of the people within the village, with the exception of High Trees, who technically are not, and across the road, across 13, Pilgrims, they're in Jameson, aren't they?
Yeah, just like this.
Siri.
Serious, that's it, those are the ones. But other than that, that does not apply to anybody else who isn't currently hooked up to the system.
Right, but the north of Fifth Street.
Right, but they're currently hooked up
That's
to
right,
the system.
that's right.
Well, I was just wondering about that meeting itself. Who was that meeting for? Was that
It was
So
actually
it's my
for the
understanding
board
Lance
to approve
has,
it.
Lance had to have a public hearing
For the residents of
residents
Jameson.
of the water district.
Yes.
I mean, he had to have that. I mean, so anybody within the Jameson water district
Yes.
could come.
Good, right, that's right. That's good.
Madam Chairman,
So-
I just would like to make a clarification to avoid any misunderstanding. Lori, I'd appreciate it if you'd stay till I finished.
Okay.
Because there has been, I think, a misconception created. With regard to your utilities ordinance that requires hookup to the water system, if the board chooses to, if the board does not, after or approximately the same time that the new water system goes in place, if the board does not repeal section 1, number 1, then that would still be in place and it would still apply. And it would still, I just, I know you were trying to clarify that and I don't feel it was clarified.
So if we're gonna let people exempt out of the new water project, we're gonna have to change the ordinance. I mean, amend
Yes,
the
you're going
ordinance.
to need to, well, you don't need to repeal the ordinance, there's a whole lot more in the ordinance than
Amend that section.
But you will need to, remove that one, section 1.1.
Although our lawyer advised us that we can't make people hook up to.
Yeah, I understand that lawyer's advice, however,
I also
think-
heard your advice, which was
Yeah.
inferred,
Yeah.
which is not the same as
Well,
legal
It's
advice.
different from,
But I think if we're not
Yeah.
going to make
But
people.
if what
Right,
you're
that's what I
saying,
We need to. we
if
need
what
to
you're
change it.
saying is that you're not going to, you're going to agree that people can opt out. And what I'm saying is, if that is your intent, at approximately the same time that the water system comes into effect, you will need to repeal, not repeal the ordinance, but this particular section.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't.
I just didn't want to have there
It wouldn't hurt
be
to
any
do that.
misunderstanding from this
Thank you.
discussion. I hope that clarifies.
I wasn't trying to be unclear.
No.
Oh, no, that's, I understand.
So the people that are outside the city limits have, it doesn't matter, I mean,
Or in the city.
or in this, I mean, if they're hooked up to the project right now, I mean, they can opt in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
whether they're in the city limits.
Thanks for coming. That top button, there's a light switch that's up higher that
It
gives.
doesn't work. Oh, it does
Oh,
work.
we got
It
it.
fixed it.
I Jim fixed it, yeah. Thanks.
Okay, so do we need to set a date for this meeting then? You wanna do October 2nd?
No, go for it, go for it. Yeah.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Thursday?
2 weeks from tonight.
No, yeah, this is
Yeah,
Thursday.
this is Thursday. Yeah, you threw me off, 'cause I was